Hi, my name's Eric. I'll be reading you selections from the Falmouth Enterprise dated Friday, April 24th of 2026. And that date's important because we'll repeat this reading through Tuesday of next week. And because many of our listeners enjoy hearing this on the day of publication, the weather is relevant. This afternoon it'll be sunny at night, partly cloudy. High today about 52 with a low around 33 in the overnight. Tomorrow, Saturday, during the day it'll be partly sunny with a high of 50. At night, mostly cloudy with a chance of showers, a low around 41. The extended forecast for Sunday calls for partly sunny with a chance of showers during the day and partly cloudy at night, a high of 53, a low of 43. There are several meetings next week because many were canceled, I think, this week on Monday because of the holiday. Traffic Advisory Committee meets Monday at 9 a.m. in the Town Hall. The Health Board meets Monday at 5:30 p.m. in the Town Hall. The Select Board meets Monday at 6:30 p.m. in the Senior Center. The Planning Board meets Tuesday at 6:30 p.m. in the Town Hall. The Water Quality Management Committee meets Wednesday at 4:30 p.m. in the Town Hall. The Zoning Board meets Thursday at 6 p.m. at the Town Hall. And the Agricultural Commission meets Thursday at 6 p.m. at the Town Hall. The headline above the fold, if there was such a thing in a digital newspaper: new trash carts to roll out by mid-May. Town puts emphasis on trash reduction, by Katie Nelson. Standardized trash carts from Nauset Disposal are expected to be delivered to eligible residents by mid-May, following the town's approval of a 5-year extension of its waste hauling contract. The current contract had been set to expire in June of 2027, and the extension will expand the town's cart-based system, introduced for recycling back in 2022, to include trash collection, creating a fully automated and uniform program. The town first rolled out wheeled recycling carts in 2022, funded at the November 2021 town meeting. Those carts are already compatible with automated pickup systems now used across the community. At an informational session held on Wednesday, April 22nd at the Senior Center, town officials and Nauset representatives outlined plans for the new trash carts and shared information about how residents can better reduce their trash volume. Under the contract, all current and future customers will receive a 64-gallon trash cart as the standard option. Residents will have the ability to request a smaller 32-gallon cart or a larger 95-gallon version based on household needs through Falmouth Recycling and Solid Waste Coordinator Mary B. Ryther said a mechanism for requesting a smaller or larger cart hasn't been determined yet. Nauset Representative Amaro Nito said the process for delivering the new carts will take about 2 weeks. A significant change for residents involves how trash is set out for collection. Any trash put out in bags, multiple containers, or oversized items left next to the new carts will not be collected by Nauset Disposal. Residents will start with 1 cart per household, and any trash left outside of the bins won't be picked up, Ryther said. Overflow bags can instead be brought to the waste management facility and disposed of for $2.50 per bag. To help reduce trash volume, the town will also pursue expanding initiatives such as composting food scraps and plans to host special events for residents to drop off bulky or hard-to-recycle materials at Falmouth's waste management facility. The new contract with Nauset also allows the town to add services, such as curbside composting during the 5-year term, without reopening the full agreement. Solid Waste Advisory Committee Chairman Richard Merrick said all the new carts and the town's efforts to reduce the amount of trash residents toss out are motivated by the state's mandate that the town reduce its trash by 30% by 2030. Merrick said the town is making progress and has made about a 15% reduction in trash so far. Officials have also noted that food waste accounts for roughly a third of the town's trash stream, making composting a key focus moving forward. Nito said the new trash carts will help keep drivers safe and will help protect trash haulers from injury. As a former driver, Nito said standardized carts make the job of collecting trash less physically demanding, and it will reduce the trash that may escape the bin as litter onto the road. He said switching to standardized carts with secure lids will also reduce issues with pests. One of the biggest changes for residents will be a shift in responsibility for cart upkeep. Under the new agreement, all carts, both trash and recycling, will be owned, maintained, serviced, and replaced by Nauset Disposal, Ryther said, not the DPW. Currently, the Department of Public Works, or DPW, handles recycling cart maintenance, and officials have said repairs are frequent enough due to wear and damage during automated pickup. Moving that responsibility over to the contractor is expected to improve efficiency and free up Public Works crews for other priorities. Ryther added that a colleague of hers spends Fridays every week managing requests for residential trash cart repair. The rollout's expected to affect nearly every household in town. Earlier estimates placed the cost of purchasing roughly 22,000 carts at about $1.2 million, though negotiations reduced that figure significantly to about $300,000. Under the agreement, the contractor will cover 75% of the cost. The town will pay the remaining 25%. The contract also includes a provision allowing the town to purchase the carts at a prorated price if the agreement ends early or if the town switches haulers in the future. At the information session, resident questions focused on what materials are recyclable, what materials are compostable, and where those materials can be diverted from the trash. Ryther and Merrick both emphasized the importance of utilizing the town's existing recycling programs, the swap shop, the fix-it clinic, and collection events for materials like styrofoam and latex paint. Expanding compost collection of food scraps will be an important next step to reduce solid waste in the near future, Merrick said. Food scrap compost bins are also accessible for free at the school administration building, East Falmouth Elementary, and at the waste management facility. For residents who wish to learn more about the upcoming changes, 2 information sessions focusing on the rollout of new curbside trash carts will be hosted by the Solid Waste Advisory Committee and the Department of Public Works from 4 p.m. at 4 p.m. and 7 p.m., 2 different sessions, on Monday, April 27th. The sessions will take place in the Herman Room of the Falmouth Public Library, Main Street branch. Our next headline: Second man found guilty of murder in 2022 East Falmouth stabbing. A Brighton man will spend the rest of his life in prison after a Barnstable Superior Court jury found him guilty on Wednesday, April 22nd, of first-degree murder in the 2022 stabbing death of Douglas Rose in East Falmouth. He was sentenced on Thursday to life behind bars without the chance for parole. Chari R. Rainey, 43, was convicted after jurors deliberated for parts of 2 days. The panel determined the killing was carried out with extreme atrocity or cruelty. Rainey was also found guilty of conspiracy but acquitted of breaking and entering. Rose, who's 41 years old, was fatally stabbed September 22, 2022 at a home on Davisville Road. Prosecutors said Rainey and co-defendant Tyshawn Miller tracked Rose to the home and attacked him in retaliation for stolen drugs. Miller and Rainey both stabbed Rose multiple times and then fled in a car, while Rose lay on the ground mortally wounded, prosecutors said. Rainey fled to Texas. He was found a week later by authorities who arrested him and returned him to Massachusetts. Miller was convicted of first-degree murder in November and is serving a life sentence. The case initially unfolded with the arrest of Kimberly A. McCarthy, Rose's girlfriend, who prosecutors alleged acted as the getaway driver. Investigators said McCarthy drove Rainey and Miller to and from the scene after a dispute involving drugs and money escalated. She was originally charged with murder and conspiracy. At trial, McCarthy testified for the prosecution under a cooperation agreement. In exchange, she's pleaded to a reduced manslaughter charge and is expected to serve 8 to 12 years. Her testimony detailed how she connected Rainey and Miller to Rose and drove them as they searched for him, believing they intended to assault, not kill, him. Defense attorney Paul Leonardo Roy argued that the case relied too heavily on McCarthy's credibility, and it lacked physical evidence tying Rainey directly to the stabbing. Prosecutors countered that her account was supported by witness statements, forensic findings, and cell phone data showing coordination among the group. The first trial against Rainey ended in a mistrial after a deadlocked jury. Great news for the Falmouth's student robotics team. The headline reads, Falmouth's student robotics team heads to world competition for first time in the program's history, by Katie Nelson. And there's a lovely photo of some very creative and very bright young people and their mentors and teachers at the top of the article. The Falmouth High School Lawrence School robotics team is moving on to the first, that's for inspiration and recognition of science and technology, World's Championship in Houston, Texas. That's the top competition in the FIRST robotics program. FIRST is, again, an acronym for Inspiration and Recognition of Science and Technology. That's a robotics program and the largest student robotics competition in the world. It takes place Wednesday, April 29th through Saturday, May 2nd. The team of 14 FHS and Lawrence students placed 24th out of 50 teams at the New England FIRST competition in Springfield last week. The top 25 teams advanced to the championship. The Falmouth team also earned its third award of the competition season with a district-wide Rising All-Star Award. Competing in the championship's a big deal for the growing team. It marks the first time the program has advanced to the top competition, where 1,055 teams from around the globe will face off and also collaborate. They'll share designs and strategies and participate in workshops and networking events focused on STEM learning, engineering, and teamwork. Advisor co-coach and Falmouth Schools Learning Partnerships Specialist Carmela E. Majewski said she is extremely proud of the team, and she said the students are excited to compete on a world stage. The number of Falmouth student participants on the robotics team has tripled on the Regal Seagulls this year, Majewski said. So far this competition season, the Regal Seagulls have made it to the finals at their first competition at the University of Rhode Island, where they were awarded the Rising All-Star Award. The award is earned by an impressive performance by teams with a high turnover in membership or new teams. At their second competition at Worcester Polytechnic Institute, the Regal Seagulls earned a spot in the semifinals. Based on their performance, the team was awarded the Autonomous Award, sponsored by Google. The award is earned by teams whose machines are able to demonstrate consistent, high-performing autonomous actions, which showcase the robot's ability to detect surroundings, execute tasks, and get into position without following specific commands. The Regal Seagull robot, named ROAR-E, that's ROAR-E, which stands for Round Object Accelerating Robot Elevator Edition, will be hitching a ride with other New England FIRST qualifying robots. ROAR-E begins its journey on Saturday, April 25th, tomorrow, and will make it to Texas in time for the competition. The school committee preemptively approved the trip to the championship at its meeting on April 14th without knowing if the team would be moving on from the New England District Championship. Majewski said she made the request early because there would not have been an opportunity for the committee to approve the trip, which is 10 days after districts. The school district will reimburse costs for students and mentor flights. She added that an anonymous donor has agreed to match donations up to $10,000. More information on how to donate will be released by the school soon, Majewski said. Mentors Matt Versace, Patrick McGuire, Nathan McGuire, Julia Rice, and Andrew Cousins, FHS advisor and lead mentor, will make this trip to Texas with Majewski and 13 of the 14 students on the team on Wednesday, April 29th. Good luck to the team. Also from the front page of today's Falmouth Enterprise, dated Friday, April 24th, new Woodwell podcast aims to make climate change personable and relatable, by Katie Nelson. Big problems like climate change aren't going away, and avoiding the conversation only makes them harder to confront. That's the idea behind a new podcast from the Woodwell Climate Research Center, host and executive producer Heather H.M. Goldstone said. In an interview with the Enterprise on Monday, April 20th, Goldstone said that discussing climate change openly by asking questions and learning new concepts is essential for helping everyday people understand the role they'll play in an uncertain and changing future. On the new podcast, Not a Climate Scientist, Goldstone speaks with guests who might not typically be featured in climate discussions. Guests include therapist and author Leslie Davenport, Fire Chief John Butler of Fairfax County, Virginia, and rancher Jim Howell. Over the course of each 30-minute episode, Goldstone and her conversation partners explore how climate change intersects with their professional and daily lives in accessible, relatable ways. Goldstone, who serves as vice chairwoman of the Falmouth Select Board and works at Woodwell as a senior fellow, after previously leading communications for the organization, said she saw a gap in climate coverage. Based on her research, Goldstone said, climate podcasts tend to fall into three categories: in-depth expert conversations, technical explainers, and solution-focused shows. All of these, she found, are not necessarily accessible to a lay audience. The mission of Not a Climate Scientist, Goldstone said, is to spark conversation and demonstrate how real people are finding ways to practice sustainability and model climate solutions that non-scientists can adopt. The vast majority of Americans are worried about climate change, but relatively few are talking about it. This podcast brings this looming issue down to earth and opens up conversations that are personal, relatable, and actionable. An antidote to the doom and gloom so many people are trying to avoid, Goldstone wrote in a news release. Not a Climate Scientist is the first podcast produced by Woodwell. Max Holmes, president and CEO of the Woodwell Climate Research Center, said climate action is for everyone, whatever your passion or profession. Not a Climate Scientist provides examples of people who have figured that out and can help others find their first step. Getting the topic out in the open and inviting productive conversation is a critical next step, Goldstone said. Not a Climate Scientist premiered on Wednesday, Earth Day, and it's available on Spotify, YouTube, Amazon, iHeartRadio, and Apple. All podcasts. And now moving inside the paper, we've completed the front page of today's Falmouth Enterprise. Bourne Bridge maintenance work to close lanes. The Massachusetts DOT has announced that the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers will be performing maintenance work on the Bourne Bridge, Route 28, on Monday, April 27th through May 20th. Lane closures on Route 28 northbound and southbound will be in place at all times. Temporary traffic alterations, including lane and shoulder closures, will occur as needed. At least one lane of travel will be maintained at all times, and police will assist with traffic control and safety setups. No wide loads will be permitted to cross the bridge while the lane restrictions are in place. In addition, the sidewalk on the bridge will need to be closed for approximately 7 days when work occurs immediately adjacent to the sidewalk. Appropriate signage and messaging will be in place to guide drivers through the work area. Drivers traveling through the affected area should expect delays, reduce speed, and use caution. All scheduled work is weather dependent and subject to change without notice. For more information on traffic conditions, people can download the Mass 511 mobile app or visit mass511.com to view live cameras, travel times, real-time traffic conditions, and project information before traveling. Users can subscribe to receive text and email alerts for traffic conditions or dial 511 and select a route to hear real-time conditions. Town to celebrate 50th anniversary of the bike path by Lynn Hutchinson. The Shining Sea Bikeway will be recognized with its own day later this month as part of its 50th anniversary celebration. The Select Board has proclaimed Saturday, April 25th, tomorrow, as Shining Sea Bikeway Day, citing the path's role as a scenic and safe route that supports active lifestyles, tourism, and environmental stewardship. The proclamation noted the bikeway sees more than 350,000 trips annually by residents and visitors. We urge all citizens to celebrate by visiting the bikeway, participating in cycling and walking activities, and recognizing the value this pathway brings to our lives, Select Board Vice Chairwoman Heather H.M. Goldstone read. To mark the milestone, Friends of the Falmouth Bikeway is organizing a community celebration on that day from 2 to 4 p.m. at the Falmouth station on Depot Avenue. The event will include live music, ice cream, presentations, and organized bike rides and walks along the path. The bike ride will lead from the North Falmouth parking lot to Depot Avenue. It'll begin at 1:30 p.m. A second ride, departing from the old dock parking lot, will take place at 1:50 p.m. The walk will start at 1 p.m. at the station, proceed to Goodwill Park, and then return. And now's a good time, since we're throwing out lots of dates and times and email addresses and all sorts of information, phone numbers, to remind you that if you miss any of the information that we share in our readings, you can always go to audiblelocalledger.org. It's a fully disability-compliant website. Click on the Listen tab at the top and choose All Reads to the Blind, and you'll find 150 of our readings chronologically arranged in order. So the most recent will be at the top, and the first things that you come across, and you can catch up on anything you might have missed. We also keep a wide variety of periodicals and literature up there for your listening pleasure, as well as some radio plays done by our volunteers and shopping guides, so you know what's on sale at the supermarkets. All of that is free for people who are blind or print disabled at audiblelocalledger.org. Our next headline: May Day Rally targets state tax cut ballot questions. Several Upper Cape groups plan to hold a May Day rally on Friday, May 1st, from noon to 1:30 p.m. outside the Bank of America branch at 871 Main Street in Falmouth. Organizers say the event aims to raise awareness about two proposed ballot questions: House 5006, which would limit state tax collection growth and return surpluses to taxpayers, and House 5007, which would reduce the state personal income tax rate from 5% to 4%. According to rally organizers, the measures could affect state funding for jobs, infrastructure, public education, healthcare, and social safety net programs. They argue the proposals would disproportionately impact low and middle income residents. The public is invited to attend and share personal stories, hear from speakers, and discuss the potential implications of the ballot questions. Organizers also say they hope to encourage Bank of America to join more than 65 members of the Massachusetts High Technology Council and the Massachusetts Competitive Partnership that have withdrawn support for the measures. Steamship Authority puts final sister ship MV Monomoy into service. The MV Monomoy officially entered service on April 17th, marking the completion of a 3-ship fleet modernization project by the Steamship Authority. The converted freight vessel made its inaugural run on the Hyannis-Nantucket route, departing Hyannis late Friday morning with a load of vehicles and arriving mid-afternoon, where a brief commissioning ceremony was held. The Monomoy is the third of 3 ships purchased in 2022 and retrofitted for freight service, following the earlier launches of the Barnstable and Aquina. Steamship officials have said the trio of nearly identical vessels will improve operational efficiency, streamline crew training, and provide more reliable service to the islands. Originally acquired from Hornbeck Offshore Services, the ship underwent major conversion work in Alabama before arriving in Massachusetts in January for final outfitting and inspection. It's now fully operational, capable of carrying roughly 50 vehicles per trip, and equipped with modern navigation and propulsion systems designed to enhance maneuverability and safety. The first 2 vessels, the MV Barnstable and the MV Aquina, entered service in 2024 for the Barnstable and 2025 for the Aquina, respectively. Some elections coming up, and with elections come profiles. Incumbent Drewley encourages character-conscious development by Katie Nelson. Incumbent and current Planning Board Chairman John Drewley said he has more work to do on the board and is seeking re-election for another 3-year term. Increasing housing opportunities within the business districts and considering zoning amendments and new bylaws that may be adopted following the town's acceptance of the state's seasonal communities designation are topics Drewley said he's ready to take on. Drewley joined the board in 2016, and during his tenure, Drewley has worked on adopting the mixed-use commercial overlay district known as Mr. Cod, as well as updating the town's local comprehensive plan. He currently serves as the Falmouth representative on the Cape Cod Commission. Drewley said Mr. Cod was adopted to allow for up to 20 units per acre of affordable housing on business-zoned properties by right. That means that denser development of affordable housing on business-zoned properties extending from the Sandwich Road intersection southerly on T-Ticket Highway, Davis Straits, and East Main Street to the downtown village center without the need for a special permit from the Zoning Board of Appeals. If re-elected to the board, Drewley said improving the looks and livability of Falmouth through regulations such as Mr. Cod will help more local people stay in Falmouth. He added that redevelopment of existing structures that are already connected to sewer, existing water infrastructure, public transportation, and walking distance from essential resources will positively impact current and future Falmouth residents. What we do today has an impact now and 20 to 30 years from now, Drewley said. Another initiative championed by Drewley is adapting and potentially expanding zoning bylaws to allow multifamily housing as by right in zones where they are currently prohibited, such as industrial or agricultural zones. A Falmouth resident since 1970, Drewley's been in the construction business since moving from Indiana and said he has built over 300 homes, many of which are in Falmouth on Faith's Way, Dillon's Way, and a 20-home Chapter 40B development on Trotting Park Road. Drewley raised his family here and said that of his 5 adult children, only one remained in Falmouth due to a lack of employment opportunities and limited housing options. He said he hopes his work on the board helps more locals who grew up in Falmouth and are able to stay and raise families of their own here. Rinowich pushes smart growth, climate preparedness in bid for planning board seat. Eric V.R. Rinowich, and that is spelled H-R-Y-N-I-E-W-I-C-Z, Rinowich, is running for a seat on the planning board after a year of deepening involvement in town processes. The West Falmouth resident and GIS specialist is hoping to bring a fresh perspective in what he called responsible planning initiatives that prioritize preparation for the consequences of climate change to the planning board. In an interview with the Enterprise, Rinowich said he hopes he can help remove barriers to affordable housing while balancing environmental concerns. Rinowich said the arguments about hard choices to be made by the town between land conservation and development of affordable housing are rubbish. Utilizing what the town already has access to, such as previously developed lots and multi-use developments in the mixed-use residential commercial overlay districts, again known as Mr. Cod, could, he said, develop vital housing while maintaining Falmouth's environmental priorities, such as clean drinking water and preservation of natural habitats and green spaces. In 2025, Rinowich, alongside his neighbors in West Falmouth, put a citizens' petition, Article 24 at Fall Town Meeting, forward to stop the requests for proposals that would allow potential development on town-owned land at 0 West Falmouth Highway. Rinowich and his neighbors argued that the land is conservation land and can't be built on. The article failed by 4 votes at town meeting, but the town has since decided not to move forward with development of the lot. Rinowich graduated from Dartmouth College in 2023 with a bachelor's degree in geography and environmental studies. His interest in responsible municipal planning was ignited during the 2016 floods in Maryland, where Rinowich grew up. Although natural disasters can't be stopped, Rinowich said, effective stormwater management and responsible land use in relation to natural resources is a responsibility of the planning board he's ready to take on. During his time at Dartmouth, Rinowich served on the Hanover, New Hampshire Master Plan Advisory Committee, which authored a master document that outlines zoning and urban planning for the next 20 years. Some of the initiatives that were covered in the master plan would work well in Falmouth, Rinowich said, including multifamily housing, which could be designed to match aesthetics clustered around community resources and designing safe sidewalks to increase walkability and access to resources for residents who do not drive. As a member of the planning board, Rinowich said, he would help play to Falmouth's strengths by diversifying land use, varying housing stock, and increasing collaboration on regional planning challenges with neighboring towns. We're at the midway point in our reading. Regular listeners, I'm sure, are aware it's at this stage that we move to a different kind of local news, which are the obituaries, memorials, and death notices listed in that week's Falmouth Enterprise. And in the Enterprise of Friday, April 24th, the first obituary is of Mary E. Rice. She was raised in Milton, where she attended St. Gregory High School, receiving her undergrad degree from Emmanuel College and her doctoral degree from BC. She spent her professional life teaching children and young adults of Boston and retired as a professor at UMass Boston before moving full-time to Falmouth. Services were held April 22nd in Milton. The next obituary is of Jean M. Pasqualucci of Acushnet, formerly of Falmouth, who passed March 25th at the age of 77. She married Santo Pasqualucci and became a mother to 3 daughters. Her greatest joy in life was motherhood. She also had passion for classical music, nature, and animals. She volunteered in animal rescue organizations including People for Cats in Falmouth and German Shepherd Rescue. She leaves family and friends behind. A memorial service will be held Sunday, May 17th, from 4 to 6 p.m. at Dahlborg McNevin Funeral Home in Lakeville. The next obituaries of Douglas T. McMillan, who attended Milton Public Schools until he entered BC High. Douglas Timothy McMillan of Wareham, formerly of Falmouth, a U.S. Navy veteran, thank you, Mr. McMillan, for your service, passed April 21st at the age of 93. He graduated from BC with a class of 1954. Known for never being seen without his Boston College ring, he had paid his way through Boston College by working as a vendor at Fenway Park and then working summers at the Snow Inn on Cape Cod. He loved Cape Cod since his days working at the Snow Inn. In the early 60s, he built a home in Falmouth Heights. He and his partner, Fran DeLuca, spent a number of winters on Marco Island in Florida, and when they were in Falmouth, they could be found at the Silver Lounge, the Flying Bridge, or the Coonamessett Inn. He was predeceased by his partner of 54 years, Fran DeLuca. Visiting hours will be held Monday, April 27th, that's this coming Monday, from 11 a.m. to noon at Chapman Funerals and Cremations in Falmouth, with a funeral service following. Burial at the Mass National Cemetery in Bourne will follow the service. The next obituary is of Jane M. McCarron of Falmouth, who passed at the age of 63 on April 13th. She attended St. Clair High School in Roslindale before working for many years as a government employee in Boston. She was a lifelong avid Boston Red Sox fan, and later in life she vacationed at her favorite spot, the Tides Motel in Falmouth Harbor, where many family reunions took place. Eventually she moved to Locust Street in Falmouth. She leaves many friends and family. A memorial service will be held in September. There are several memorials as well in today's enterprise. The first is of John P. Melgam. In loving memory, John Melgam of East Falmouth passed away Tuesday, April 14th at Falmouth Hospital. He's survived by his beloved wife of 35 years, Doreen Melgam, his daughters Sharon, and grandchildren Cole and Michaela. John was a veteran of the U.S. Army Reserves. Thank you for your service, Mr. Melgam. He enjoyed time with his family, playing poker, bowling, fishing, and was a Dunkin' Donuts enthusiast. A celebration of John's life will be held May 9th, 2026 at Midway Trap and Skeet, located at 284 Old Meeting House Road from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. In lieu of donations in John's memory, anything may be made to the American Heart Association. The next memorial is of Kevin Radford of Carver, who at the age of 71 passed on April 16th at Toby Hospital in Wareham. He was husband of Marilyn Radford, and they were married for 43 years. He was born in Heswell, Cheshire, England. He grew up in Hoylake, and was a lifelong supporter of Everton FC. He lived in Mashpee before moving to Carver in 2017. Survivors include his wife and many family and friends. A celebration of his life will be held tomorrow, Saturday, April 25th, from noon to 4 p.m. at the Navigator, 55 Ashamit Road in East Falmouth, Mass. In lieu of flowers, the family kindly requests donations in his memory to the American Cancer Society. The arrangements are with Chapman Funerals and Cremations in Wareham, 2599 Cranberry Highway in Wareham. The next memorial is of David Gouveia, M.D. In loving memory of David Gouveia, M.D. of West Falmouth, who passed peacefully at home on April 21st at the age of 94. He was born May 15th, 1931, and was raised in Taunton. He was a 1949 graduate of Taunton High School and a 1959 graduate of Tufts Medical School. Dr. Gouveia served as a physician in the U.S. Army at Fort Stewart, Georgia, during the Cuban Missile Crisis, where he received the Army Commendation Medal. He returned, thank you for your service, Dr. Gouveia. He returned home to Taunton to establish his surgical practice at Morton Hospital. He was a fellow of the American College of Surgeons and the American Board of Surgery. He's survived by his wife of 67 years, Janice Gouveia, originally from Pawtucket, and their 4 children and many family and friends and patients. Visitation will take place on Monday, April 27th, from 9:30 to 10:30 a.m. at Chapman Funerals and Cremations, 584 West Falmouth Highway in West Falmouth. It'll be followed by a Catholic Mass, again, this Monday at 11 a.m. from the St. Elizabeth Seton Church, 481 Quaker Road in North Falmouth. The burial will follow at St. Francis Cemetery, 24 Glebe Street in Taunton, Mass. The next memorial is of Stephen Fennell II, who passed peacefully April 12th, with his family surrounding him at the age of 84. He was born December 17th, 1941 in New York. Hempstead, New York, to be specific. He was the son of Colonel Everett Green Fennell and Eileen May Fennell. Together with his 2 older sisters and his younger brother, the family lived all over the U.S. and in the Philippines before his father was assigned to Otis Air Force Base, and they settled in Falmouth in 1951. There began Steve's love for being on the water, and at a young age he proudly saved up his paper route money to buy his first boat. A member of the Lawrence High School class of 1959, he was a southpaw first baseman for the baseball team and co-captain of the football team. Following his graduation, he attended college before entering the U.S. Marine Corps, where he proudly served from 1961 to 1964. Steve was a lifetime member of the Falmouth Elks Lodge, the Midway Trap and Skeet Club, and the Falmouth Rod and Gun Club, of which he was a past president. He's survived by his wife of 59 years, Petra, and many family and friends. A celebration of Steve's life will be held on Friday, May 1st at Chapman Funerals, 475 Main Street in Falmouth, with visitation from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m., followed by a service at 1 p.m. All are invited to a reception following the service at the Falmouth Rod and Gun Club from 2 to 6 p.m. The burial will be held on Tuesday, May 5th at 1:45 p.m. at the Massachusetts National Cemetery in Bourne. In lieu of flowers, any donations can be made to the Falmouth Rod and Gun Scholarship Fund. Check payable to Falmouth Rod and Gun Club with a memo in memory of Steve Fennell, and mailed to P.O. Box 161, Falmouth, Mass. 02541, or to the Marine Corps Reserve Toys for Tots program at toysfortots.org. And our final memorial is of Billy Tobia, 84, of East Falmouth, who passed recently. Born in West Virginia, Billy lived an adventurous life, having resided in West Virginia, Ohio, and Wareham, Mass. Until settling on Cape Cod in his late 20s. A true caretaker and people person, he found his calling as a barber. and served others in this capacity for over 65 years, most of those at Andy's Barber Shop in Falmouth. He was honored to cut the hair of multiple generations and those with differing abilities during this time. One of his favorite nurturing qualities was going to homebound individuals in nursing homes to give free haircuts when they were sick or at the end of their life. He felt this was his thank you for their continued business through the years. Billy also loved his time bartending for many years at Clyde's and the Coonamset Inn, where he met many friends and enjoyed recounting stories of those times throughout his life. He's survived by the love of his life of over 53 years, Sherry Tobiah, as well as many family and friends. In honor of Billy and in lieu of flowers or donations, please consider planting a tree or paying his love forward by spreading acts of kindness in his memory. A visitation will be held at Chapman Funeral Home at 475 Main Street in Falmouth on Saturday, May 16th from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m., with a reception to honor his life, share stories, and laughter being held after at the Falmouth Rod and Gun Club at 203 Carriage Shop Road in East Falmouth from 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. His family invites you to wear Billy's signature colors when you come to celebrate his life, pastels, particularly pink, purple, or teal. The following residents, former residents, or family of residents of Bourne, Mashpee, and Sandwich recently died. Carol P. Ayotte, 93, of East Sandwich, died April 17th. Jennifer Beltrain, 61, of Sandwich, died March 24th. Terrence Bustard, 67, of Pecasset, died April 15th. Nancy Douglas, 92, of Fort Myers, Florida, died March 19th. Carl A. Johansson, 91, of Sandwich, died April 13th. Kathleen M. Lindsay, 72, of Bourne, died April 21st. And that concludes the obituaries, death notices, and memorials that are listed in this week's Falmouth Enterprise. Back to the elections in the front of the paper. Incumbent Fox favors form-based zoning and Mr. Cod expansion by Katie Nelson. Mr. Codd's quite popular with all of these candidates. Incumbent James E. Fox says he's ready to serve another term on the planning board. Fox was first elected to the board in 2004. He also currently serves as a member of the Falmouth Economic Development and Industrial Corporation. His professional background is grounded in real estate, asset management, and development. Fox was a summer resident in Falmouth as a child and attended East Falmouth Elementary School for 5th grade in 1963, which he remembers vividly, as it was the same year President Kennedy was assassinated. After college, Fox returned to Falmouth, and for 15 years he commuted to Boston for work and got to know then Falmouth town planner Ken Buckland while riding the bus in the late 1980s and early 90s. Buckland suggested that Fox get involved with the Main Street Fire Station Relocation Committee. On that committee, Fox said, he helped negotiate the purchase of 2 buildings abutting the Main Street Fire Station. He also got involved as a town meeting member and was then asked by the Select Board to consider running for a seat on the Planning Board before the 2004 town election. As a member of the EDIC in 2003, Fox served as lead negotiator to establish a 4-megawatt solar array on the capped town landfill. Fox said adopting a more form-based zoning code, which prioritizes redevelopment on underdeveloped lots while giving the planning board the ability to regulate visual impacts like setbacks from the street and building height, would be beneficial for creating more density-done-right development. Expanding the mixed-use residential commercial overlay district, Mr. Codd, to allow multifamily housing to be built in additional areas, such as industrial zones, is something Fox said the board could consider as a method of diversifying housing stock. When it comes to the decisions to be made by the board regarding the seasonal community designation mandatory bylaws, which include allowing tiny homes to be built by right and allowing development on undersized lots, Fox said he'll keep an open mind and will look forward to hearing input from the public. We have hearings, we listen, we craft feedback, we take it to town meeting, and we put it to a vote, Fox said. He added that guidance from planning administrators and experts will also inform his position on how the town should move forward with a new designation. Medeiros champions diverse housing options and zoning amendments as a planning candidate, by Katie Nelson. Carefully amending zoning regulations and considering how changes will impact future generations has special meaning for Planning Board candidate Kenneth Medeiros II, whose family has lived in Falmouth for 120 years. Medeiros is hoping to be elected to help keep members of the workforce in the community they serve, in homes they can afford. Medeiros has served on the Planning Board twice before, from 2009 to 2012 and 2013 to 2016. He said he feels the time is right to return. Medeiros said he admires the work and dedication of the board, but said members of the community who are able to serve on a committee should step up to share the burden of public service. In addition to his previous experience serving on the board and his base of historical knowledge as a resident, Medeiros is a U.S. Army veteran. He served in the Army for 17 years and worked at Joint Base Cape Cod, at the time called Otis Air Force Base, as an aircraft mechanic. Medeiros recently worked for the Steamship Authority for 14 years as a mechanic until a recurring shoulder injury demanded a pause from work. His time away will allow him more free time to commit to the board, Medeiros said. Diversifying housing stock and supporting affordable housing projects by working with developers through Local Initiative Program, LIP projects, are a few priorities Medeiros is hoping to champion on the planning board. LIP projects, also known as Friendly 40Bs, allow developers and town officials to work together on housing projects to better align the project to meet community needs and to lessen impacts on surrounding neighborhoods. In theory, LIP endorsements from the town's Housing Development Working Group should remove some of the barriers involved in the comprehensive permitting process and help the town build housing that fits its needs faster, Medeiros said. Affordable housing can't just be apartments, Medeiros said. He added that he has friends and family members who have moved out of Falmouth due to a lack of affordable and attainable housing options, and said he would like to help change that as a member of the board. Medeiros added that reviewing and amending zoning regulations is critically important as the town continues to change and redevelop. He said he's encouraged by the fact that Town Director of Community Development Jedediah Cornock has steadily been proposing zoning amendments for boards and town meeting approval, and Medeiros said he's ready and willing to help facilitate that time-consuming process. From the Enterprise Editorial Board, another look at marijuana. The Select Board's decision to take another look at the town's ban on recreational marijuana sales doesn't mean the town is suddenly changing course. It simply reflects a reasonable question. Does a policy adopted in 2017 still make sense today? At the time, voters made a clear decision to prohibit recreational cannabis businesses. That vote still stands. But the environment around that decision has shifted. Marijuana is a legal, regulated industry in Massachusetts, and all of the surrounding towns allow retail sales. Falmouth is effectively watching potential tax revenue flow elsewhere. And that's what prompted Select Board member Jack Richardson to raise the issue again, pointing to the local tax and host revenue the town is not collecting. Whether or not that becomes a deciding factor, it's a fair point that deserves a closer look, especially in a town that's dealing with tight budgets. Still, the question isn't just financial. Concerns about public health, community character, and local impacts are real, and they were part of the original decision to ban sales. And those issues haven't gone away. Any review should take them seriously. The key point is that revisiting the topic doesn't lock the town into any outcome. It simply acknowledges that conditions change over time, and decisions made nearly a decade ago should be tested against current realities. Before anything goes to town meeting or the ballot, there'll need to be solid data and meaningful public input. That's the appropriate next step. Always good to know what happened at the Select Board meeting. So we move to the Select Board briefs. Edward Marks building exterior restoration, AI policy, land protection, and police station updates by Lynn Hutchinson. Bid documents for exterior restoration of the Edward Marks Jr. building on Main Street are set to go out later this year. The structure, which was built as a tavern in Hatchville in 1769, is the town's oldest municipal building. It was moved to its current location on Main Street in 1815. Historically known as the Poor House, P-O-O-R, the building was once used to house the town's poor and otherwise dependent citizens, quote unquote, until the mid-1900s. The Falmouth Artists Guild leased the building until 1996 when it was determined to be unusable. The town has allocated funds for renovations several times over the years. The town's Human Services Department has occupied the building since May of 2024. The building was named after Edward Marks, who served Falmouth as a firefighter, a member of the Finance Committee, and a member of the Board of Selectmen. During the Select Board meeting on April 13th, Barbara Wayand, chairwoman of the Edward Marks Building Advisory Committee, explained that the latest round of bid documents would be for exterior restorations to the siding, storm windows, shutters, and foundation, and a new front door. Boston-based architectural firm DHK guided the renovation of the interior and will also be the project manager for the exterior of the building, she said. A third and final renovation phase will include restoration of 2 chimneys, installing a wood shingle roof, new gutters, and plaques honoring the building. The Select Board also began initial discussion of whether the town should adopt an artificial intelligence, AI, use policy for municipal employees. Assistant Town Manager Peter K. Johnson-Staub said more and more municipalities are adopting AI policies to prevent potential harm as a result of AI use, like disclosure of personal information and dissemination of inaccurate information, while encouraging safe use to increase efficiency in municipal operations. The Association to Preserve Cape Cod, the APCC, has launched a new regional campaign, the Cape We Shape, to protect roughly 40,000 acres of the region's remaining undeveloped and unprotected land. APCC Executive Director Andrew Gottlieb said, "The campaign's mission is to protect areas that include critical natural resources such as wetlands, water supply zones, wildlife habitats, and flood-prone regions. The roughly 40,000 acres of the region's remaining undeveloped and unprotected land make up about 14% of the Cape's total land. The campaign aims to raise awareness about the urgency of conservation." Gottlieb said the Cape-wide initiative will be conducted in 3 phases. The first phase, he said, is building public awareness and recruiting volunteers. The second is to educate communities about how local government and finances work in order to understand how to effectively engage in the political arena and to be productive advocates for outcomes that support a better environment. The third phase will be action-oriented. Next, minor updates have been made to the site plan of the planned police station at 100 Brickkiln Road. After a community forum on March 16th, the plan was adjusted to relocate the impound lot and outbuilding away from Brickkiln Road and shift the staff driveway to align with the driveway of the anticipated Chapter 40B housing development. The adjustments were made in response to concerns by abutters who worried previous plans would have caused noise and light disturbances during the evening. Cost estimates remain preliminary. Tecton associate Matt Salad said the town is considering borrowing roughly $65 million for construction. The town is still weighing a 20 or 30-year bond, with interest rates currently estimated between 4 and 5%. That would put annual debt service between roughly $4 and $6.5 million. Based on fiscal year 2026 property values, the projected tax impact ranges from 17 cents to 30 cents per $1,000 of assessed value. So, for a median home valued at $792,000, that would mean an increase of about $135 to $225 per year. Next note, in other business, Falmouth Raw Bar received approval for renewal of its seasonal all-alcoholic beverages restaurant license, common victualler license, entertainment license, and Sunday entertainment license, pending the issuance of 2026 food service establishment permits and certificates of inspection. Quixhole Taqueria received approval for renewal of its seasonal all-alcoholic beverages restaurant license and common victualler license, pending the issuance of 2026 food service establishment permits and certificates of inspection. The Select Board also approved an amended annual retail license certification for 2026 for the Falmouth Country Club. The Board also approved a special one-day wine and malt beverages license for the Falmouth Community Veterans Center for Saturday, April 18th. It granted Heroes in Transition a special one-day all-alcoholic beverages license for its Ruck 4 Hit event at the Cape Cod Fairgrounds. The Select Board approved the Falmouth Yacht Club's application for a change of officers for 2026. The Board also granted the Buzzards Bay Coalition a Sunday entertainment license for the Buzzards Bay Watershed Ride Finish Line event at the MBL Swope Center. The Board approved and executed a confirmatory discharge of mortgage for 60 Lucerne Avenue. Also, the Select Board approved and signed land disposition agreements between the town and the Falmouth Housing Trust for properties located at 20 Brigantine Drive and 21 Pheasant Lane. It also granted the Master Gardener Association of Cape Cod a variance to the sign code to place 5 off-premises promotional signs for its plant sale at the Cape Cod Fairgrounds. The Select Board granted the Falmouth Theater Guild a variance to the sign code to place a sandwich board at the corner of Depot Avenue and North Main Street to advertise its production of James and the Giant Peach. Hui, the Woods Hole Oceanographic Institution, received approval for a variance to the sign code to temporarily place a promotional building wall sign exceeding 8 square feet on the Smith Laboratory High Bay Wall. The Select Board granted Spore Gardens Trust a variance to the sign code to place 10 off-premises sandwich board signs advertising Daffodil Days at Spore Gardens on Fells Road from April 12th to 26th. The Buzzards Bay Coalition received approval for a variance to the sign code to place Buzzards Bay Watershed Ride event signs in Woods Hole. The Juneteenth Community Celebration Committee received approval for a variance to the sign code to hang 14 Juneteenth flags on light poles along Main Street. Eversource Energy and Verizon New England received permission to install a new JO pole to be designated 206-4575 to provide electric service to 55 Hall Lane in Falmouth. And the Select Board approved the town's application for a $4,600 grant from the Mass Division of Marine Fisheries for green crab removal on Cape Cod. The Cape Cod Guangping Taiji Quan Club received approval for a fee waiver for its special event, Taiji Practices, held Saturdays from April through December at Bigelow Park. Arts Falmouth received approval for a fee waiver for its Arts Alive event scheduled for June 12th to 14th. It also received approval for a fee waiver for its Artisans at the Harbor series at Marina Park, held Thursdays from June 25th through August 27th. The town received approval to apply for the Emerging Contaminants in Small or Disadvantaged Communities grant for the conceptual design of the Ashamet Wall. And the town accepted a $2,000 donation from Bands for Badges, along with in-kind donations of dog food and treats, and a 30% discount on canine-related items from the Falmouth Pet Center in support of the Falmouth Police Department's reestablished canine unit. And with that, all that good news, most of it, all good news, we've come to the end of our reading of the Falmouth Enterprise for today, Friday, April 24th of 2026. This is your reader, Eric, saying be well, be safe, look after each other, and remember our veterans, especially those we've lost recently. Bye for now.